Hello there, everybody. How's it going? I hope we're all being happy and healthy in this interesting times that we've got. One of the things about this interesting times is it's kind of changing the way a lot of us do certain things. This is something, doing workshops, making rattles and drums and this sort of thing, that I've always typically enjoyed, being able to look at folks and see them eye to eye. So I regret not being able to do that at this particular time, but hey, that's why we have technology. So we're going to hack this and we're going to get through this together. So anyways, I'm going to show you today, we're going to be making rattles. And the rattles, which you should have, if you're watching this video, you should probably have your kit already. And I'll show you what our kit is. So this is how it's going to be kind of like delivered to you. And here is everything that is in it. We'll just go over the list. That way you can make sure that I didn't forget to put anything in there. Don't worry, I won't. All right, so in our bags that we've got, we will have, we'll go down the list here. You'll have your two little deer hide skins that will go in. They'll need to be soaked. We'll talk about that in a couple seconds. Let's just get up through the list first of what we got. So we got our 2 rounds with our holes punched. You may have, well, hopefully you should have, you'll have the banding that will be required to do it. Also, this will be, rough to the touch. You'll be like, how are we going to weave that? Well, all will be revealed. All right, so inside we'll have our birch hoop, and this will be what we wrap this stuff around after. So far we've got our 2 rawhide rounds. We got our banding, we got our hoop, and last but not least, our corn. And so the corn will be what ultimately that we put inside of it. And it's not a lot. You can keep that bag for sandwiches later if you're going to go to a picnic or something with the fam. So anyways, this is going to be what you do. Now the first thing you do when you get your stuff out is you got to get yourself a little bowl or a bucket, or you can put a plug in the sink or something like that, something that'll hold water. And you're going to want to fill that bucket or whatever, like it's kind of like a KFC looking bucket, eh? Hope you guys appreciate that. All right, so you're going to want to fill that with water, not hot water. It's very important that you don't put hot water in it. Otherwise, you're going to be making soup, and we don't want that. You just fill it up full of room temperature water, not too cold, not too hot. If you put your finger in it and you notice a big difference, try again. So we got our water in there. So what you're going to do is you're literally going to take your banding and take your rawhide, and you're going to kerplunk. You're going to put it in that water, and you're going to wait 2 hours. So go watch a movie or binge watch whatever show you've been binge watching over this quarantine. And don't get carried away because, hey, we got rattles to make. We got work to do. So anyways, after that soaks for about 2 hours, okay? I'm just going to put it to the side for now because I got one that I've already been soaking since last night. It'll stay in there for, a day or 2 before it starts to degrade. So you want to make sure you get at it. Don't just leave it and then like 4 days later, hey, what's that smell? Right? Especially when it's warm out. So inside, I have already, like I said, I got some that have already been soaking. So you'll notice, look at the difference, right? You've got, this is very, very hard. And there'd be no way that you'd be able to possibly weave that. You gotta hydrate it, you gotta moisten it. And when you get it, after it's been moistened, boom, look at that. Now it's like, a lot of people say it's like the lasagna noodles or something. But don't eat that. You're going to be chewing a long time. Straight carbs. So this is just some extra hide I have for later. I'll put that out of the way. And even that banding that you put in there after a couple hours is going to get nice and flexible. So we don't need our water anymore. Look at that. You got a nice little piece of banding there. You may notice there might be some warbles and stuff like that. But guess what? That's all part of the charm. Like myself, I personally don't want this to look like it's some kind of uniform manufactured product that you get from Walmart or something like that. You want it to be, you know, authentic and all that. So you've got your banding soaked, you got this soaked, you got your hoop, we're ready to go. So have a look. This is what we're going to come up with at the end of the day. How cool is that? Nice, sturdy. It may look kind of crazy. Don't get intimidated. It's actually a very, very simple weaving pattern, and we're going to go over it together. I'll go nice and slow. We'll have close-ups and everything. We've got like the pro camera guy there, Kevin. Thanks to Kevin for helping us out with this. All right, so I'm saying so too much. I got to stop that. This is what we're coming up with. Just basically your cross-stitch pattern going all the way down. It could be a little tricky at first, but as you go, it gets quite easy. You'll notice it gets easier as you go. Not just because you get better practice, but you know, there's less banding to... Oh, if you see any knots like this, make sure you take them out. You cannot pull the knots through the holes. So we're making sure that we have no knots, and we don't. We're good to go. Give it a tug. Like, don't heave on it. We don't want to break it, but you'll notice some parts will stretch more than others. That just has to do with what part of the animal it came off. Let's talk about that. This is wild white-tailed deer skin. And wherever you happen to be in the world, if you're making drums or you're making rattles, the best skin to use is the skin that evolved over tens of thousands of years in that particular area. This is why you might have problems if, say, you're in a place like the rainforest and you use like llama skin or something, and then you go to the Sahara Desert, like, why is my drum singing too high? It's too tight. Conversely, if you get a drum or a rattle or something that's from the Sahara Desert made from camel skin, and then you go to the rainforest or something, it's never going to sing properly. It's going to be all sounding bad. So in this particular area, that's what we got. We got wild white-tailed deer skin, and nothing matches that for tensile strength, for the thickness of it. Real good stuff. You guys are going to be just tickled pink when you get these rattles all nice and dry, and they'll dry over the course of the night. Let's go over our pattern, shall we? This is what I call making the burger. You know, picture your hide is like a bun, and your birch frame is like the burger, you know. We're like at a barbecue. Remember barbecues? All right. So we're gonna just sandwich them together like that. Doesn't have to be pretty. Now you may notice on the banding that it's like in a point. I try to be nice to you guys and cut the points ahead of time, but if not, or if it's a little blunt, you can sharpen them up, and it makes it a little easier to get through the holes. Let me show you what I mean. You just grab any pair of scissors. They gotta be sharp scissors. So you make like a natural sort of needle. Look at that. There we go. That'll be able to jab through those holes easy. Yeah, where's our other one? It's already pretty good, but we'll show you what I mean. Let's get a nice point on that. And we're laughing. We're not gonna need those scissors. As far as tools and holes punches and scissors and stuff, you don't really need any of that stuff. Pretty much you'll have everything that you need in that kit. All right, so we made our burger. I sound hungry, don't I? All right. So this is how we do it. We begin by taking the skin, and you get it centered. It's going to flop around a lot. You have to fix it, but just kind of keep fixing it, and eventually, before you know it, it'll be holding its own shape on down the line. So you'll notice that it's kind of like you've got like a P or letter B or whatever you want to say underneath the handle. Select those two holes and go through one, right? We're going to go out the other. And see how that is? We're going to pull this so that we have equal overhang. Don't worry, I'll get back under camera here. I just got to... All right. So this is what we've got. We're under the handle, where the circle and the handle meet. Not over, but under. And we've gone through one side and out the other. And we're ready to begin. That's our anchor point. We have an equal distance hanging down of our slack on that side as we do on that side. We're going to take one, like this one here, forget about it for now. Forget about it. For now, we're just going to work one. So here's what we're going to do. Now that we're like that, okay, we're going to go through the one on the other side. So this one is going to go this way. So here's what we do. We just go through there, the one right beside, and, you know, I'm clasping this I'm holding this sturdy so it doesn't flop all around. Just pull that hide through, like so. About that tight. Don't reef on it because, you know, we're not there yet. We'll do our tightening later. So just kind of get it in place. This is the secret here. You're going to want to make sure that you watch closely here. You've gone through across on the other one, and it's the one right beside. Well, when you come back the other way, we're going to skip one. So right now we've got this one here. We're not going to go directly in it. The only time you don't skip one is the very first time. Now we're going to skip one all the way around. So check it out. We're not going to go in this one. We're going the one beside it. So we pull our banding through, and here's what it should look like. Okay, so we've gone through both, right? We have equal slack on either side. We've gone through the adjacent hole, and now we're going to skip a hole, back and forth all the way around. So instead of going into this one, which is right adjacent, again, like I said, we're just going to skip one each time. So we pull that through, keeping a tight grip on there. It's frustrating, you drop everything and like, oh man, you're going to have to let go. And where was I? It can get tricky, so try to keep a good handle on things. And again, coming back, so skipping a hole each time as we go around. This is where you come to appreciate not only the fact that it's nice and limber and hydrated from soaking in the water, it makes it slippery so it can go through the holes nice. You might have to pull pretty hard at times. Don't be afraid. Just get her through. So here we are. Here's another example. You can see we got a hole here. We're going to skip it. Skipping each time. Just using one strand. Remember that other strand is it's off to the side. We'll get to that. You can imagine probably some of you out there that already know how to do this kind of stuff. What's going to happen with that other one eventually. We're going to go around and get all those holes that we skipped. Some people like to do the cross pattern each time, but it's frustrating because you're constantly like putting one down, picking up the other strand, picking up. So I just find it's like easier to just use the one strand to go around because before long, it's holding it all in place. You may see what I'm doing here is I'm just sort of centering things. Remember, I'm keeping things loose. We're going to do our tightening later. A good analogy to use is like skates. You know when you put the skates on, you don't just reef them on right tight right away. You just get the laces in place, and then you do your tightening later. So round and round we go, skipping one each time. Don't skip two. Don't forget to skip one. And I hope I don't mess up right here in front of all you guys, but it's no big deal if you do. You just gotta go back and do it again. This goes pretty fast, actually. Out of all the things that you can make with this stuff, like drums are super complicated at times. It takes a good long while. See, look at that. I'm not even holding it now. It's like holding its shape. We could pay attention to get everything centered. That's why we keep it loose. So we've gone around. Now, here's what we're going to do. We take that one that we've been working. Now we toss it aside. We find our other one. I'm going to give you a hint. Not all you guys are going to be like super fast doing this. Here's a hint. After a while, you could sometimes, the hide can get a little dry as you're working it. So you're pulling it through the holes and you're like, man, it's hard to get through here. All you got to do is just dip that in the water. Makes it all slippery again. So, no worries. And we're going to pick that up. And we're going to find our one that we left off before. You'll notice one is longer than the other now. Of course, because we've gone through all those holes, so it's taken up the slack. So I'll grab that one that we haven't been doing. And you're going to see how much sense this makes. You just go through the holes that you missed. It'll all be laid out for you. So you go through that one. Now here's the thing that you want to watch for. Okay, this is where you could get tripped up. You pull it and you're like, hey, what's up? Right? You don't want that. What happened is, when you were taking up your slack, the loop went around the frame. You want it to look like that. So really, see, there's nothing going around this. You didn't do anything wrong. Just make sure that you, when you're pulling it, and I'll show you that one more time, just so you know. Sometimes this thing can get locked behind. You're pulling it, you're like, hey, man. That's all you gotta do. Just make sure you come around. You're going directly to the hole, not taking the long way around, if that makes sense. So again, finding our point. Now we're going to come back. Remember, the first one, you go through the one right adjacent, but that's the only time that you do that. The rest of the time, you skip the holes. And this should be super obvious, because when you're going through here, you're gonna see that all the holes are laid out for you. How easy is that? All right, just finagle it through those holes. See, paying attention not to pull it around. There again, see, that thing can trip you up, especially when you got lots of slack. So paying attention not to wrap it around your handle. All right, round and round we go. Are we having fun yet? I don't know, I'll go as fast as I can. Don't try to go too fast. I'm just doing this for your sake, because you can always press pause and, what was that guy doing? And go back and look. All right, round and round we go. Keeping it, again, nice and loose, remember? We're gonna do our tightening later. You'll see what I mean with the skates. And we'll just take a quick little break here to show you. You're gonna notice that, see how we've done this? This is one that's already prepared and dried. So you got your cross pattern. So it's gonna be X's. It's gonna be X's and X's, and you know how it is, like being at the powwow when you're surrounded by X's. I mean, sorry. All right, so you go around, you go X, 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 X. It's gonna be, you know, encircling. So this is what we're doing, and I know that doesn't look like that now, but of course, that's gotta do its thing. So picking up where we left off, you might not wanna set it down and go back at it if you're not like used to making this stuff. Some of you guys would just be fast forwarding in this and say, I already know how to do that. Well, go for it. There might be even different patterns you guys might want to use. So we'll go around, and now I'll just go into a little bit faster here so I can get this wrapped up so we can show you the tightening process. Made a few of these. And lo and behold, there are no more holes left. You've gone all the way around both sides. I know it's not quite straight yet, but that's when we do our fine tuning, when we begin to do our tightening. We've gone all the way around. If you look at this point and you see there's a hole somewhere down the line, you didn't count. Maybe when you were going around the first time, you skipped 2 holes, or you forgot to skip a hole, which leaves you an extra at the end. So you should look that all the holes should be used. So at this point, we are going to go around to where we began. This is the starting point where we began. Remember that first thing when we went through those first 2 holes underneath, in between the frame and the circle. So this is when we're going to begin to maybe really kind of straighten this. This is where you'll be really happy that you left it loose, so you had that flexibility to kind of get everything centered. Some folks are very particular and want everything to be just as perfect as it can be. Me, I just kind of go for sound, but it's nice to look good. So in tightening, here's what we're going to do. We're going to begin to take that slack up. And each X that we reach, we are going to pull. Pull in the one, pull in the other. Rotating. course, we started where we began. That's the anchor point. Don't start, halfway down because it'll be loose down here. So start where you began and going slow. Don't try to reef on it tight right away, because if you do, that tightness is going to increase as you go around, and by the time you get to here, these will be far apart. So there's nothing wrong with going back and doing it a couple times. If you go slow, you'll be able to make it look real good. So taking up that slack, going around, there's an X. It starts to get that pattern, which I'll show you. Where have we seen that pattern before? Well, it's very, very popular. It's like a softball. That's a Western stitch pattern. You ever see a baseball or a softball? You see that the leather around the ball has got that nice cross stitch to it? That's all it is. So we're creating that, like a baseball or a softball. So round we go all the way, taking up that slack. I like to do, when I'm taking up the slack, do both at the same time, because then it doesn't get wonky and you can sometimes lose track of what you were pulling on. Just one X at a time. And then now we're pulling on the final ones. Now don't pull it too tight right away. Why is that? Well, we do have to get our stuff inside. It's going to be a pretty quiet rattle otherwise. I've done that before, where I've been making them late into the night and I've been really tired, trying to get ready for whatever powwow. And you go to shake one, you're like, what? So we're going to get our little popping corn. If you want, if you've got special fillings, you can replace the popcorn. Maybe put like white corn in there. I see white corn, I just want to eat it, being a Mohawk guy, or beans, whatever. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of like loosen it. Just make a little hole, like so. You only have to do this once. So yeah, sure, it's going to go all over the place, but here's what I do. I just sort of dump it in. I pull that, just try to finagle them in. Get them in there, go small. Otherwise, corn's going to go all over the place. I suppose if you wanted, you could had a funnel. You could put a funnel in there and just pour it all in at once, but going looking for a funnel, or maybe the funnel's dirty and you have to wash it, boo. Get that in there. I got quite a bit of corn in this bag. I don't think I want to use all of it. You get a feel for this as you go. Sometimes you think you need all this filling, and it's like, oh, the more filling I put in there, the better it'll sound. Well, sometimes you just put a few in. I've seen people that just put maybe 2 or 3 in, and then it clangs around when this thing dries up, and it makes a really beautiful sound. So I don't think I'm going to use all the corn. I'll leave. It's not a lot to fry up and eat. Hopefully it'll be a short movie. All right. So we got that in there. Sometimes it likes to stick in between. You gotta make sure it'll be stuck in there forever. So there we go. We're all in. We're all in. Clean our mess up here. So now I'm going to go back to that X, and I'm going to take up a little more slack, not much more, because I'm kind of happy with the way this is looking. And as it dries, it's going to tighten, and it'll do its own thing. Remember, we're not like making a rattle here. We're just sort of arranging some materials. The rattle knows what to do. It makes itself. We're not the master of the process. We're just a servant of it. Acting with that kind of humility when you're making it, and it will be more likely to do what you want it to do. All right. So it's getting harder for me to get in there. I got no real nails to speak of. But I'm doing my best here to kind of tighten it up. Not getting near as much slack as I did the first time. Just take up that slack, and when you get to where you left off, you'll have a little more length coming down. Where it's looser, you can tighten it more, and it'll bring it more close together. And there we go, to where we left off. There. Now all we're going to do for that cool handle pattern, I'll show you, X, 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 is we're going to continue the same thing that we're doing. Well, how can we do that? There's no holes in the wood. Nah, you don't need it. I'll show you how. It's just this, and it might be a little weird to show you being reversed, because like I'm pointing at the camera. Typically what I'll do is I'll be sitting down, and I take this section here, and I hold it with my knees, so that I can do my weaving pattern towards myself. But I'll show you what I mean. I'll just stick it in my belly button here. And all you do is you just kind of continue that X. So see the last two? You continue that X, so down around you go. There's one X, coming around. There's two X's. You can get, I don't know, something might resonate with you. How many X's do I want? Let's stick 4 in there. We like the number 4. There's 1, 2. You can even like wrap it around, even make a handle, like put it really close. Whatever pattern you want. But again, I'm just wrapping around, doing X by X. We got 3. Let's try to sneak another one in there. We'll have, there's a nice 4. So you may notice that it's slender here where I've sanded it. Oh yeah, that's looking good now. I like that one. All we're going to do is we're going to wrap around a couple times, you know, whatever. Just come around. And I like to tie my knot on the inside. And I know that some folks don't like knots. That's fine. You don't even really have to tie a knot. You can just wrap it around itself. It's the first thing you do when you tie your shoes, you know. Bring that down. Get that nice and snug. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. See, at this point you can kind of fine tune them, make it look nice. Because when it dries, it's going to hold that shape permanently until you wet it again. Now, having a look here, if you were to just leave that, it would be fine. But I got all this slack left over, and some of you guys might too. At this point, what I like to do, if I've got this slack, is I give myself a little loop that I can, you know, use to hang it. So I'll go into the, I'll try to finagle it in here. Sometimes you got to use like a shish kebab skewer or something like that. What I'll do is I'll try to just kind of use my hole punch to, there we go. Just kind of make that hole a little pronounced. And I'll take the hide, I'll go through there. Boom. If you want, you could even take that wax sinew out when you do this. It's just usually there just to hold everything together while I sand it and while you make it. If you don't want the wax sinew, and this is an option, by the way. You could just tie it and leave it if you wanted. I've got to make that hole a little bit. Yeah, here we go. Through we go. But you'll see what I mean. Like, I like to hang them sometimes. So all I'll do is I'll tie that, and I'm going to take that out. Why not? You can leave it in if you want, but we don't need it. So what I will do is I will yoink that, because it did its job. It held everything together. And now we'll use this in its place. So just tie. First thing you do when you do your shoes, unless you know, your shoe tastes haven't improved since the 80s and you're wearing Velcro. Tie a nice little knot. I've got all the slack left over. Tie another knot at the end. Boom. You got yourself a little loop. Now, if you were to just let that dry, like so, it's going to get all gnarly. All right? So what you do is we can, at this point, we can take the slack off. That's useful stuff. Put that in your freezer. You need to fix your rad hose in your car and you don't got a pipe clamp, you're good to go. And you can just hang that to dry. And right now, if I shake it, yeah, you get a little sound. Not so much though. When it dries overnight, it's going to change. Then you can sing your songs. So that is how we make our rattle. Hope you have fun doing it. And in the morning, when you go to check it and you hear how it's changed, I'd like to be a fly on the wall and see those smiles of people when they look at what a great job they did. Anyways, you're going to enjoy this and something to pass on down to the grandkids. So I hope you enjoyed the rattle making workshop. And that is it for me. Bye-bye.